Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to CIBC Presents Entrepreneurship 101. Tonight's lecture, and I don't always say this for all the lectures, is probably one of the most important ones that you need to pay attention to. It's communication tools for your business, for your idea. And basically, if you can't communicate what you're trying to do, and whether that's to customers or investors, you're not really going to be very successful. Now, there is going to be a lecture on how to give a pitch, because that's obviously one of the communication tools, but there are some very standard tools, business plans and things like that, that are your way of communicating with people your idea and how it's going to play out. And so I'm delighted to have tonight one of my colleagues from Mars, Dr. Veronika Litinski, to give a talk precisely on this topic. Now, one of the reasons I've asked Veronika is that until very recently, she was the lead of our life sciences practice, and she spent a lot of time talking to clients of Mars about how to communicate their ideas, not only helping them sort of improve those ideas, but how to get the message across. So I think she is well positioned to talk on this topic. Give you a little background. Veronika did her PhD in Russia, so she is conflicted tonight, and I've suggested that if people start leaving early, if she goes on too long, then she's going to lose some audience to the hockey game. And I didn't ask her who she's cheering for. She then actually went to Lawrence Livermore Lab as a research scientist, and she focused on mechanisms of DNA repair. She transitioned very quickly into the business world, founded a medical journal, and then earned an MBA in finance, University of San Francisco. So having fallen off the straight and narrow as a scientist, as a research scientist, and gone into business, she worked in corporate finance, first as an associate in the capital markets group with Union Bank, public U.S. company on the New York Stock Exchange, and then with GATX Financial Corporation, also a public company, focusing on structured transactions, M&A, and such things. Eventually, we were lucky, she ended up here in Canada, joined Mars right at the very beginning, in July 2005. And as I say, she became the head of the life sciences practice, dealing with our entrepreneurial clients. She has recently moved away from that, and she has accepted a role of heading up a spin-out company called Cognicity, which is a joint venture between Mars and Baycrest. And without going into details, it's developing software technologies to aid in maintaining brain function amongst the elderly. And none of you need to say anything. I am very interested in the development of that company. So she continues a role here at Mars advising companies, but is now going to be spending the bulk of her time actually working with her own startup, effectively getting that company up and running. So I have already apologized to Veronika in that I do have a family commitment, so I'm going to have to scoot out of here. So I want you to be nice at the end when you're asking questions, because Veronika is going to be here on her own. The one last thing that I will add to Veronika's interesting background is that she did spend 2.5 years in India at an ashram. And I'm not entirely sure how that colors the advice that she gives her clients, but I'm sure it does bring a very interesting perspective. So, Veronika, over to you.
Right, thanks. Thank you, Tony, for a great introduction. And just want to make sure slides work. So my lecture today will focus on really how to make your business idea credible and understandable. And I'll try to explore the kind of hardest scenario where you have really nothing but an idea in your head, lots of paper, maybe a team of people you can work with, and you need to convey to prospective investors and partners what do you do. And it's quite obvious that we will need these communication tools for many scenarios in the business life and in developing your business. So you will need an executive summary to communicate what you do to your prospective investors. You will need a variation of the same executive summary to explain to a strategic partner or distributor or prospective employee what you do as well. So let's acknowledge that you will need to build blocks of these communication messages, and you will do a lot of mixing and matching along the way, but the basic tools will remain the same, and this is your business plan, your executive summary, your PowerPoint deck, and the white paper. As I said for this lecture, I'd like to focus on the most difficult scenario of raising money. And in my mind, it's something akin to finding a life partner and finding a job. So it's a hybrid of two most difficult things many of us will face in life, but somehow we'll survive through these hardships. I think a lot of people can relate to how difficult it is to find this perfect match. But I'd like to maintain this metaphor throughout the lecture, because the important thing about communication tools is that they're your tools to help build the relationships with your investors and with the business partners. So this analogy of relationship building will be a thread through our conversation today. And finally, if you have any questions along the way, just raise your hand and let's make it as interactive as possible. So we'll focus here on kind of two big aspects: the nuts and bolts of what should be included in the communication tools, and how to use them in the context of raising money. Without getting too analytical, we know that investors maybe look at one business plan out of 100, and they make money on maybe one business plan out of 1,000. So, looking at these odds, it doesn't seem like a great journey even to start. But even if you decide to grow your business without any investment capital, you still need to have the same communication tools. And also, I find the investment perspective very useful for everyone attempting to launch a new company, mainly because it brings certain clarity. Maybe I'm a little bit biased because that's where I grew up, in the sort of finance world. But even if you're not seeking outside capital, it's useful to think about what you do as an investor. You're investing your time. It's probably the only asset you really have, ultimately. And it gives you a certain objectivity, a little bit of a distance, when you're looking at the materials that you develop for your business from the lens of a financial investor. So I wanted to invite a guest speaker, and actually I'm going to have a couple of guest speakers that all came from YouTube. One of the reasons I wanted to include this video is, one, I like seeing what other people have to say, but also I wanted to make a point that often it's easier to communicate not just with words, but with images and with videos. And especially in today's world, where you can develop this kind of communication tools a lot easier than maybe 10 years ago, I wanted to illustrate to you through the use of videos in this lecture that sometimes it's a great way to convey complex ideas. Adam?
I've got some business idea that I just want to tell you about, and I'll be a fool if...
Very quickly.
What is the most popular thing in the world?
Music.
No.
Tell me.
Ice cream.
Okay.
Everyone has it. And what is the problem with ice cream?
I have no idea.
It drips.
Okay.
So my idea is what?
To make a drip-proof ice cream.
No. Oh, that's a fucking brilliant idea. This. All right, whatever. You ain't going to come out with that, though.
No, I promise you I won't.
Well, my idea is to come out with just like these ice cream gloves that make the ice cream not go on your hands and make it all well sticky. And also keep your hands warm
Okay.
when you is eating the ice cream.
Okay.
Is you in or is you in?
Okay, well, it sounds like a good idea, and I hope you make a lot of money.
All right. So this is clearly sort of a fool's journey, right? So LEG, I mean, obviously it's a joke, but this is an example of, potentially what not to do. And I kind of wanted to start with LEG as a guy with outlandish idea, but recognize that a lot of us as entrepreneurs may start with ideas that seem rational. As you interact with the marketplace, learn about the dynamic in the markets, maybe you discover that you need to change your course a bit. And I'd like to encourage you to think about your communication tools also as a journey. So you will be building your story over time, and your story will change over time, and it will never be static. So think about building your communication tools as a process, not an event. At some point, you create a set tool, and they will work, but there will be continuous versions and updates. Essentially, what these tools do, they explain and illustrate to your audiences. Again, the audience are your prospective investors, partners, customers, employers. They explain what's unique about your business, who cares, and how you will execute. In the business language, it's your differentiated, sustainable value proposition. But these three essential questions are the important lenses you need to apply when you're choosing what materials to include in your communication tools. So if you download any kind of guide to how to build your business plan, there will be a question, what is your market opportunity? Is market validated? Is pain still big enough in the market for you to be in business? So all these aspects of how buyers experience your product, how your customers learn about where to find your product, how your buyers dispose if this is a physical object, and what is your revenue model, how you're going to make money, who is behind the company. All these questions will be covered essentially in your communications toolkit, but there are probably 100 different ways to explain and convey this information, but these three essential questions, what is unique about your business, who cares, and how will you execute, they should be your filters, your guiding principles in making you choose the right information out of the sea of facts and data that will be available to you. The other important consideration in thinking about this communication toolkit is the difference between selling and planning. So we started out saying that we'll have 5 essential communication tools. One of them, your business plan. And the business plan is your plan. So it's what you use to plan how you execute. All other communication tools are your selling tools. And they're there to convey the value of your business. Business plan is your internal planning document. It's very healthy to start with a good outline and fill out sections as you discover information. Having a firm outline allows you to recognize where are the gaps in your understanding. But the business plan is maybe one of the last things you will show to your investors. You're certainly not going to start with it. But all other communication tools, your executive summary, your PowerPoint, your white paper, these are the documents that allow you to convey to the outside world, so the selling part of it, who you are and what your messages are. So that's the document where you craft very carefully what you say, what words you use, and the style of your overall communication. The basic principles of business communications, I'm not going to give you a whole lecture of how it's done, but I wanted to pull up the essential concepts in business communications that should be absorbed by all of us entrepreneurs. So first of all, you have to be completely factual. And it's really important not to use just general terms, return on investment, and all the stuff you can pick up from any business book, because a lot of people you'll be talking to, they got their MBAs and they know the same keywords. So you need to deliver data and information to your investors and let them arrive to their own conclusions. So less hype works much better for startup businesses. The enthusiasm will be generated by the story you're telling. And you don't need to get enthusiastic in your written materials. You want to be very sure, because it's a startup environment, you're not sort of a general manager of IBM, that this is a process that's highly dynamic. Sometimes you walk out of the meeting with a prospective customer and you go back to your PowerPoint or a business plan and adding information because you discovered something new in this meeting about your buyer experience cycle. So you need to be prepared to manage this process well and treat your communication toolkit and your business plan as a live beast that changes and evolves with your understanding of the business. This is basics that you want to be build a visually compelling document. And I can't tell you how many times I had in my Mars life, I received volumes like that of tightly packed sentences, usually in small font with complicated charts, and maybe they're precious and maybe they had amazing ideas in them, but if people's attention span is 20 minutes, 20 minutes is just not long enough to really understand those dense blocks of text. So it's very important to lay it out in a way that's very user-friendly, and almost run a test, show it to your friends or family and just see if it looks good. This is really a packaging exercise, and packaging has to be very attractive. The storyline is very, very important. So I would almost bring analogies from filmmaking, where you're storyboarding what you want to say about your business idea. And because you're building a communication toolkit, you need to draw people in. But you need to do it in a way that's organic to you. There's some theories when people say, oh, you need to throw a red lobster on the table, just for shock value. For some people it works, for some it doesn't. But you need to start with something that will get people attention. Maybe it's a case study. Maybe, depending on what business you're in, maybe it's something that refers to their direct experience with healthcare system, with buying something in a store. You need to make it real for them. So, and then build a story to the point where when you get your punchline, which is, I need $1 million to get there, they're completely clear why, what is your differentiated value proposition, and how will you get there. So again, think of it as an outline and a story more so than a collection of facts. Finally, it's very important that we build audience-centric tools. Again, you're trying to convey something complicated to people who more or less not interested, and they have very little time, and they haven't spent, unlike you, days and days thinking about this particular problem. So one assumes as an entrepreneur that you're an expert in your business. Most people around the world probably know very little about what you want to do. And even if you're talking to investors, they may know a lot about adjacent areas, but not necessarily directly about your product idea. And that's why potentially you will have a successful business, because it's innovative. So you need to build the tools and build your explanations, keeping in mind who you're talking to, where they're coming from, and what their biases are. And finally, because I come from the world of technology, it's very tempting to build your communication toolkit starting with technology, because that's where the substance is, and that's what you know best. Most investors, okay, there are some geeky ones, but most of them don't really understand technology, and they don't really care. There's more technology than money. That's the conclusion I came to after being at Mars for 5 years. So don't think about technology. Think about customer pain and how your product, if you notice I didn't say technology, how your product solves this customer pain point. Any questions so far? Okay. So this is my second guest speaker. And so far I talked a lot about written stuff. The next guy will tell you about you as your most important communications tool. And that's another very important point to remember. You are the most effective, passionate, enthusiastic representative of your business. And sometimes people feel very comfortable with technology, but they're not so comfortable about standing up in front of investors and customers and talking about it. And there's a temptation maybe to get a spokesperson. It rarely works. And you need to think about your team overall and think among the members of your team who would be the most credible person who would be able to stand on the stage and pitch your business. And could we have?
So in that 18 minutes or 10 minutes or 5 minutes, you have to convey a whole bunch of different characteristics. You actually have to convey about 10 different characteristics while you're standing up there. What's the single most important thing you've got to convey? What? Boy, oh boy, oh boy. And that's a straight line. Look at that, right over there. And I didn't even prompt him. You're right, integrity. Because that's the key thing. I would much rather invest in somebody, take a chance in somebody who I know is straight than somebody where there's any possible question of, who are they looking out for and what's going on. So the most important thing is integrity. And what's the second most important thing after integrity? Let's see if you can get this one. Close enough. Passion. Right? So here you want entrepreneurs by definition are people who are leaving something else, starting a new world over here, creating, putting their lifeblood into this kind of thing. You got to convey passion. If you're not passionate about your own company, why on earth should anybody else be passionate? Why should they put more money into your company if you're not passionate about it? So integrity and passion, the single most important things out there. But then there are a whole panoply of other things that you've got to do to wrap up in this package that you're presenting to a VC. Experience. You've got to be able to say, hey, I've done this before, and done this before is starting an enterprise and creating value and taking something from beginning to end. So that's why VCs love to fund serial entrepreneurs, because even if you didn't do it right the first time, you've learned the lessons which are going to stand you in very good stead the next time. And now along with that, along with the experience of starting an enterprise or running something, and it doesn't have to be a business, it can be in an organization in school, it can be a not-for-profit, but they want experience in creating an organization. Next up is knowledge. If you're telling me you were going to be the great developer of the map of the human genome, you better know what a human genome is. I mean, I want you to have domain expertise. So I don't want somebody who's saying, hey, I've got a great idea in a business I know nothing about. I don't know who the players are. I don't know what the market is like. So you got to know your market. You got to know your area. And then you have to have the skills that it takes to get a company going. And those skills include everything from technical skills, if it's a technology business, to marketing and sales and management and so on. But not everybody has all these skills. There are very few people who have the full set of skills that it takes to run a company. So what else do you require? Well, leadership. You've got to be able to convince us that you either have developed a team that has all those factors in it, or else you can. And you have the charisma and the management style and the ability to get people to follow your lead, to inspire them, to motivate them to be part of your team. All right, then having done all that, what else do I want to know as a VC? I want to know that you have commitment. You are going to be here to the end. I want you to say, I want you to convey that you are going to die if you have to, with your very last breath, your fingernails scratching as they draw you out. You're going to keep my money alive and you're going to make more money out of it. So I don't want somebody who's going to cut and run at the first opportunity, because bad things happen. Never been an angel or venture funded company where bad things didn't happen. So I want to know that you're committed to be there to the very end. You got to have vision. You got to be able to see where this is going. I don't want another Me Too product. I want somebody who knows you can change the world out there. But on top of that, I also need realism, because I need to know that while changing the world is great, it doesn't always happen. And before you get to change the world, bad things are going to take place, and you got to be able to go deal with that, and you have to have rational projections and stuff. And then finally, you're asking for my money not just because it's my money, but because it's me. You need to be coachable. So I need to know that you have the ability to listen. We've had a lot of experience. People who are VCs or angels investing in you have had experience, and they'd like to know that you want to hear that experience.
All right. And so this is the attributes that investors or business partners are looking for in the business leaders. Let's also keep in mind that we're not gods, and maybe somebody on your team has the leadership qualities and others have experience. So collectively, you need to present all these attributes, and you also need to convey that you can work well as a team. And that comes across, you have your bias on your PowerPoint and in your business plan, but it comes across through how you communicate in meetings. So if you have 2 or 3 people as part of your team in the boardroom with investors, it's really important that you pace your delivery in a way that investors see that you respect each other, you listen to each other, you work well as a team. It always leaves a bad taste if there's only one spokesperson and everybody else kind of sitting back. So think of all these human attributes of your communication toolkit as not just your personal attributes. Okay, if you have them, you're very lucky. But as a team of the startup, you need to convey all these qualities. The other important aspect of building your toolkit is you basically want to give your audience what they want. And I want to bring back the analogy of the relationship. Help people you're telling about your business become the champions of your business. You need to give them information, but you also need to give them comfort and confidence. Most of the times you'll be meeting with just one person from, say, a venture capital fund or a strategic partner, and you want to equip them with the tools to become your internal champions in the organization. So if you know that the person you're pitching to first is really comfortable with the technology and already fell in love with your technology, but it's not somebody who can explain to a financial manager how this technology will affect their bottom line, give them the chart and the graph and the data to sell internally what you're pitching. And so addressing knowledge gaps is the way to make sure that the first entry into organization, whether it's a strategic partner organization or an investor organization, whoever your first door into this important organization, you understand their background, and you equip them with tools to help you sell to the whole organization. And the important aspect also is pacing your delivery. Think about dating. If you're starting, you met somebody, you don't want to dump on them all the gory details of your childhood and where you went to school and everything else. So you start with a short introduction, your elevator speech. And then if they're interested, they will ask for executive summary. And then maybe you evolve to in-person meeting. So it's more like a dinner date. And then you can talk a bit more about where you're coming from and how you think. And by pacing the how you deliver information and what you give at certain point, you allow people to kind of fall in love with what you do. They have time to process, and they also have time to start asking you questions. And so they build a sense of ownership a little bit inside also, because they spend time thinking about the questions, so they're a little bit more invested emotionally and mentally in understanding your story. And I wanted to give you a couple of examples. So we had the bad ice cream example, and we probably have more. This is a slide I pulled up from one of our clients' pitch decks. And I know that when this guy started, it was more like 3 slides with graphs and words on paper. But this slide explains quite clearly what is the addressable market and what is the solution to whom, right, that this company has developed. So it's a picture that can travel. So if you're talking to an investor who understands the space, which is advertising online, and knows what ad networks need and what ISPs need, it will be very easy for them to understand why this particular technology company solves a problem for this particular group of target customers. As I mentioned, the communication toolkits, we're building it for different audiences. So different audiences have different biases. If you're talking to an institutional investor, it really comes back for them to return on investment. And especially if you're pitching to a large fund, they're really in the business of raising money continuously. Yes, they want to invest and they manage their investments very closely, but if you caught them at the point where they just finished investing from one fund and they're getting ready, raising money for themselves, they will listen to what you have to say, but they're kind of translators between big money managers and the technology world. So reduce it all to returns. If you're talking to a strategic investor, they might be talking to you because they're curious, they want to stay informed about latest in technology development. But you need to be very well informed about what are the key performance metrics in the guts of that business. What drives IBM's business? What do they report on? What are the sensitivities in their sort of business machinery and how you can solve their problems? If you're talking to an angel investor, this is most of the times is very emotional for them. Angel investors tend to invest into companies where they understand the sector. Most often they made money in the sector. Sometimes they're prepared to step away and invest in some other sector, but they would want to have somebody who they trust and known for a long time tell them that this is a good idea. And back to my original message to you, that you need to have a series of communication tools, and you need to have your key messages explained in different ways. This is the reason why. Because for some people, you need a very techy white paper that positions your unique technology versus their technology. And they will be looking at you thinking, okay, it's a build or buy decision for me. I can work with that small company, or I can send my engineers and build a solution also. And sometimes you'll be talking to people who are only interested in returns. So yes, you will have a slide on technology, but mostly you will have a slide on top level financial summary and how you will execute and how your business is really a cash flow machine. This is something that seems obvious to all of us, that we need to have social media tools. But the reason, so last year I had this lecture and I didn't have this slide, and this year I feel like I have to have it. Mainly because that's been my experience this year, and as Tony mentioned, I'm involved with a startup also, so I actually busy creating these communication tools for the company that I'm a part of right now. And it's amazing how fast information travels, and you want to be very careful about managing what messages are out there. Because even your PowerPoints that you think are your own, they may end up in the hands of people that you never actually met in your life, and suddenly there will be a blog post, and it's like a kid's game, There's information out there all the time. So using social media tools, there's one aspect of managing risks, so you don't want wrong messages to be out there. Another aspect is convenience. I ran into somebody in the food court today, and they said, okay, send me a link to that Cognicity company that I'm involved with. So there's an expectation that there's information available on the website, and if it's not available, means you're not in business. And there's also huge value in using things that are not just words, but graphs, as I showed in the earlier slide, but also videos. And it works really, really well for complicated solutions. And the cost of producing these videos is much lower now. But if you need to convey a really complicated technology, or you know that your business fits into quite complex business ecosystem, there are lots of partners, and with you kind of a new entity on the scene, somehow you'll be affecting their business, it's a lot easier to convey that story through the video. So I would encourage you to think about creating these types of assets, managing them really, really well. And I guess the main point about having your online presence is you want to show up, but you don't want to disappear. It needs to be alive. Think about blogging. Think about reaching, continuously feeding your online presence. So for Cognicity, the company I manage right now, we actually built a 12-month calendar. We're in product development right now. So I don't really have a lot of news to report all the time. But we built a 12-month calendar, and I know when my messages will come out. And it's a combination of blogs, white papers, and I expect that it will be tracked somehow by freelance journalists, and I'd like these messages to get out, but only when I'm ready. So here is another guest speaker, Adam.
Do you want me to eat this?
No.
No, okay.
What's the matter there?
Lay it on me.
The ice cream glove. That's a C, which means that you can't nick it.
All right.
Have you seen one of these things before?
Sure,
Everyone in school learns these things.
sure,
Venn diagrams.
sure.
People who like ice cream. People who has hands.
Sure.
What's this section here? That's our target market, isn't it?
Okay.
We did an intranet search for ice cream. We come back with 6,121 result. We did an intranet search for the gloves. How much results did we get? 325, 0, 113. So you times those together, what does you get? This is just people on the internet looking in. 203 zillion, whatever, 496,400, and then a 1. Check this out. If all those people bought one glove at $19.99,
Right.
just one glove, business would be worth, wait for it,
I'm waiting.
That much. That is such a big number. Couldn't fit it that way. That.
All right. So just continuation of our fool's journey. And I mean, Ali did a couple of things right? He used numbers. He kind of attempted a multimedia sort of presentation. He kept the story going. But clearly there's some problems with his information and being grounded in reality. So here is a better example maybe, how to convey what is your total addressable market. And again, good practices. There are references here at the bottom of the slide, that you indicate where you got your information from. You put in big, bold letters, in what is the addressable market for the technology. And it's visually compelling, it's well organized, and it explains, what the customers see right now, what is the real market today, and what is the additional slice that the customers of this company will get with this new technological solution. Another example. So it's a reasonably complicated medical device technology. And you can start presenting it with pictures and how it works. But this company started by stating very clearly, kind of grounding their case in something that a lot of people can relate to. So minimally invasive therapies is a big trend. So right away, you put where you belong, where you want to play in a growing market, in a big space. Trend is your friend. So you want to ride a really positive, high growth wave. You also clearly state right away what are your products and benefits. So, better success rates, fewer complications, shorter hospital stays. I'm sure you've seen marketing presentations where people say, real pain's better, faster, cheaper. So this is the better, faster, cheaper translated into the context of this product and that solution. And although the technology is quite sophisticated, as you see, there is nothing about how it works. It talks only about the opportunity, the big trend, and what pain this company wants to solve in the marketplace. I talked a lot about you're using your communication tools to build relationships. I can't really help, I really want to emphasize the professionalism. And I just said, 2 days ago in a presentation, it was one of our clients pitching to the chair of Mars Angel Group. And it's a fabulous company, great data, good team, but he had a typo consistently, on 3 slides. And I could see the eyes of that guy who is worth millions of dollars going to this typo all the time. So, and not because, he was really rude, but because it was such a jarring, piece of information on the slide. So really make sure you double check everything. And it's always tempting to, change something last minute in a rush before you hit the print button. So just take a deep breath and run a spell check before you do it. So just to summarize, the main takeaway from most of this lecture is your communication toolkit is a process. It will be evolving as you discover more about your space. It needs to be really grounded in reality, and you have to recognize that when you start your business, you don't really know everything about your business. So you will be building your communication toolkit, which is your sales toolkit, and in parallel, you're building a business plan, which is your planning document. The communication tools are for building the relationship, and you use the toolkit as to the best of your abilities. So some people need pictures, other people need a link on your website to a video, and somebody else would want to look mostly at your high-level financial statements. So build them layer by layer, but be prepared to change them and to think of it as an evolution. The other aspect, okay. So I'm going to go now into specific tools. And I started out saying earlier that this communication toolkit will be used by your whole team. So different people on your team may need different types of tools and are more comfortable using different types of tools. I'm going to refer to this link, which is on the Mars website, and there's a lot of kind of how-to articles and actual outlines of what should be included in the business plan and executive summary. So you'll have access to this on the Mars website, and you have access to the slides online, I think, day after tomorrow. So what is the elevator pitch? It's a very quick overview. It's your introductory line. And the main thing about elevator pitch, it should come out naturally. So you want to get your key messages, but it should sound like, hi, my name is, and it shouldn't be really complicated, and don't stress out too much about it. But to get to the point where you don't stress out about it, you need to practice. So here's an anatomy of elevator pitch. You want to say what is the pain point, and you want to say what is your value proposition. So this is the two big ideas that need to be baked into your elevator pitch. And if somebody asks you a question, you can go into greater detail, but that's your opening line, and then you wait for your questions. Executive summary, again, I'm referencing the kind of outlines that are available on Mars website. And there's no real precise recipe. Is it 1 page, 3 pages, or 5 pages? Some of the businesses we work with that in this marathon of raising money, I call them up saying, okay, I can put you in front of an investor on Thursday. They say, okay, what do you need? I have a 1 page, 3 page, 15 page, and 50 page. And so I know that they're completely ready because they have versions depending on how interested their audience is. But basically, it's a teaser document, and but it needs to have pretty much everything that you would have in a business plan in a summary form. One of the ways of building it, you take your business plan and you take top paragraphs from every section, and that becomes your executive summary. It's also good practice to have versions of this executive summary document. One is more investor focused, and another is more kind of customer strategic partner focused. So I would prepare 2 versions right away. The white paper is a very important social media tool sometimes, because it's something you can have on your website, and you get people's emails if they want to download it. But when you start trading value, people gave you their address, they should get something interesting. So it has to have enough information there that they would feel they learned something about the space, and after all, you're the professional there. But be careful that you don't reveal any IP secrets in this white paper. So keep it short, and it's most likely to be used by investors who already met you, and they want to take a deeper look. So sometimes when you're pitching to a fund, there will be somebody on the team who is more kind of finance operations person, and somebody else who is more technical. So the technical geeky person wants to become real familiar with what you do, and that's when you get your white paper out. The pitch deck is probably the most critical document. And I like starting with the pitch deck because it allows you to keep everything well organized. I put here, 15 slide outline. Sometimes it's 25 slides. So don't get too orthodox about, how long the documents should be. But, 15, closer to 15 than 30. But also it depends, how many pictures you have. And when you're building your pitch deck, there's also a big difference between what people see on the screen when you're standing and talking to them, and what do you leave behind. So sometimes it's useful two versions, one with a lot of words that the document that can work without you standing there and able to answer any questions. And another is more kind of a presentation on the stage, 12 minutes, when you go, bing, bang, boing, and done. And finally, the business plan. This is massive. It can go, from 10 to 100 pages. There are lots of manuals and advisors out there how to write a business plan. Personally, I don't believe in hiring an outside consultant to write a business plan, because this is how you're going to execute your business. It's the most intimate document that conveys all your concerns also. So if there are things that keep you awake at night, they should be in that business plan, because this is the planning document that allows you to think collectively as a team how you're going to address the risks. And this is probably the last document the investors will see, and they will debate with you the assumptions and your strategy, your approach. So it's your plan how you're going to create this valuable business. And the most important thing about your business plan is to keep really tight version control. Because you change strategic directions, it migrated maybe into your PowerPoint, but then your business plan is a year old, and then you have to make excuses when you send it to people, and then it just doesn't look professional anymore. So if you're starting with a blank piece of paper, how would you start building this communication tool? My advice is to start with a PowerPoint deck, because it keeps everything organized, and it's just a lot easier to manage. You can basically run a company for probably 6 months with an executive summary and the PowerPoint deck. The business plan, you have to start and keep your outline alive and know what you don't know. Because seeing this table of content and knowing that there is no content yet under a certain heading gives you direction and allows you to plan ahead. The PowerPoint deck is something that allows you the flexibility to add and remove information without sort of destroying the integrity of the document. Practice is the most important part, probably. And the other piece that's important, if there's more than one person on your team, make sure that you're all equipped to deliver the message in a credible way. So the topic of this lecture was, how to convey your idea in a credible way. Make sure that your technical people can say enough about your financial projections, but they also know when to defer to somebody who is more comfortable with the, say, financial side of your business. So develop your messages in a way that anybody in your company can be a spokesperson for your company. As I said, there are templates for everything, and as everything else, communications, people remember the first and last thing. So, some of the last things I'm going to say here is make a story, keep updating your documents, and when you're structuring your communication tools, make sure that the key value propositions and your differentiation are the messages that would stick to investors. And these are just some, practical ideas, and with the emphasis on ideas. Make everything a story. People get bored with technology. Make it real for them. Create a case study. Make it just ground it in some context that everybody can understand. Make your people real, because in the end, people want to do business with people, not with some anonymous corporate entities. And so give real front sort of time to people behind your company. And out of all possible messages that you can, many ways you can describe your business, pick 1, 2, maybe 3 that are your key messages, and make sure they're consistently woven through your whole communication toolkit. Because there's no business that can do 20 things really well. And some things are just table stakes, so you don't need to mention them. But keep 1 or 2 things that are really unique to your business and emphasize them throughout your story. And I think this is it. So the last minute for LEG, I think.
This may be the worst idea I've ever heard.
I actually don't dislike the idea.
Safe, respect.
Yeah, but I don't dislike the idea. You can use it, it's not, there's something to it.
This is not going to happen.
I've got another business idea.
Okay, what is that?
What's this?
That is a skateboard. No, it is a toothbrush. No.
Don't be...
Okay, good. What is it?
Grow up, brain. What is it? We'll tell you what it is.
Oh.
It's a hoverboard.
I don't understand what you mean.
It's a hoverboard. As you've seen Back to the Future.
Yeah.
As you've seen the bit where they jump on the board and it flies around.
Yeah.
It's in the future.
Yeah.
That film must have been about 10 years ago. No one has even thought about making that thing.
Mm-hmm. But it doesn't do that.
It doesn't do it yet. That's where you lot come in. You come up with the science.
We don't do that. This is nothing. It's a film.
Well,
It's a
they must have
story.
used the board from somewhere. They made one of them that
No.
worked.
No.
So how did he jump on it and fly all around? It's all
Yeah, so, basically, as an entrepreneur, you just never give up and you carry on. And I think the important thing that at least I learned in India is, be yourself and have fun.